In July 2018, Theresa May announced a ban on conversion therapy. Alongside that, other progressive measures that included self-identification. These brought hopes that the lives of LGBTQ people would be made easier and allow us to get on with our lives. But 2 long years later, with no progress, Boris Johnson came to power. Boris promised that there would still be a ban on conversion therapy, and it even got its own mention in the Queen's speech on the opening of Parliament. However, 2 years after that, in March 2022, it turned out as a lie. The government announced they were scrapping the ban, but after a few hours and after much justifiable anger, the government performed a U-turn and they said they would go ahead. But they said they would exclude trans people from being banned from it. LGBT charities all over the country poured out of a Safe to Be Me conference, a conference the government organised and caused that to be scrapped as well. And early this week, a protest was announced for Sunday. And here I am at the protest. I will be speaking to the people most affected by the exclusion of this ban, and we will have to see what they say. So first, I spoke to someone who happened to see me film some of the speeches, and I asked them what their thoughts were on the ban.
I think it's fucking disgusting because we rallied, we protested, we did everything just to be heard, to ban the literal belief that we are a disease. And then they have the audacity to say that they're going to do it and then cut out trans people blatantly. It's just kind of, could you just not? It's, oh. Yeah, they could. It's just blatant transphobia and disregard for trans people's existence.
After I finished that interview, I was ready to pack up my bag and head home, but then I walked into What Le Trans and I had to ask some questions.
My name is Michelle Snow. I'm a journalist for What the Trans, which is a podcast, a website, and me moaning on Twitter about how everything sucks.
The first question I asked was for an explanation on what exactly conversion therapy was. Also, I apologise for the audio, the mic transmitter was being weird and I had my interviews annoyingly choppy.
So, conversion therapy is the practice by a third party to change a person's gender identity or sexuality from LGBT to straight because they think that straight cis is preferable and they think that LGBT is some kind of disease or disorder, basically. It's torture, it's nightmarish, and it sucks.
Then I asked Michelle what her thoughts were on the ban.
Well, this is going to sound like a strange thing I'm running up, but go with me. I have been covering a trans moral panic in the UK since 2016. I started doing that at Pink News. I've worked at a little few other places and I started my own thing. And during that time, the media has put out hundreds of articles arguing that being trans is a disease. And for years, parents of newly come out trans young people go online, they read these articles, they are radicalized, and they go on to abuse their children and send them to conversion therapists. That is a pattern that I've established from multiple sources at this point. I've been working on this story for a very long time. Now, the government are protecting that system because what newspapers do these people read? They read the Times, they read the Telegraph, where this shit is published. Where this awful rubbish is published is where all of these people read. So it's no surprise that they have taken out trans people from the ban because they are following what the papers are telling them to do, like they always do when they target minorities. It was gay people in the 80s and 90s, Muslims post 9/11, disabled people in the noughties and the 10s. They pick a minority, they make them a problem for everyone, they portray them as a problem, and the government comes down on them. That is what we're seeing with this ban reversal and whatever horrible shit they're planning next.
Then I asked whether she thought the government would ever implement a ban on conversion therapy on trans people, or whether the government would entrench themselves into their current position.
My opinion is that this government are not going to do that. I think our best bet is waiting for another government whether that be a Conservative government that is more centrist, which I don't think is likely, or a Starmer victory at the next election. I think is our best bet. But I've been wrong before, and Boris Johnson has been known to act out of self-interest, so if people protest and make it a fucking nuisance, maybe for his own benefit, he will change track. So that is an option there, but I'm not that optimistic about it.
Then I asked what the government would have to do to regain her trust to deal with LGBT issues again.
I've been following this since 2016. I went into it following the equality, the Women and Equality Select Committee, inquiring into trans equality, and I had hope then. I met Conservative MPs who cared. Maria Miller, Nicky Morgan to an extent, Caroline Dynam, I believe her name was. I interviewed all these people and they told me all the right things and I was optimistic. That's not the case anymore. I don't trust them. I don't trust them to give a shit about trans lives, and I think they need to go. I think everyone needs to vote out every Conservative in the country, and maybe trans people will have a shot. Maybe. But the fight's going to be long. I don't think it's hopeless. I just genuinely think that we are fighting to keep what we can, and then in 10 years there may be a change. That's what I think. Sorry to be not more optimistic. I'm a very cynical journalist who's been looking at this for a very long time. I'm so tired.
Fantastic. So after this, I called it a day and I headed home. I've never been to a protest before, and from what I've experienced, it was an amazing experience and I enjoyed every minute of it. But with my heavy camera on a tripod, it started to feel like a long protest. And I held up my tripod into the air for multiple hours and my back was hurting, and as I'm recording this, it still does. But from what filming I did, I sensed frustration from everyone, and I saw that we are tired of the clear inaction the government has taken. The issue has dragged on for years. 4 years. And all they wanted to do was be heard and have proper action taken. But this also requires the government to listen, and seemingly these days they seem less willing. And with mentions of anything happening being a battle, it leaves me and many others frustrated, as we feel this ban should not be a fight, but if needs, we will fight for it. But it also isn't just about conversion therapy, as there's still more things the government need to do in other areas. I'm hoping to go to more protests and record what happens and ensure more voices are heard. This includes the protest on the 29th of June for the not safe to communicate.